Advocate, advocate, advocate for your child. If you feel like something is wrong, 9 times out of 10 there is something wrong. Don't let any friends, family, doctor think that you're crazy, and advocate for your child. I'm going to tell you what has been going on with my youngest and why it's important to advocate for your child. So, he is currently 15 months right now, and it's been a journey with him. I would say this probably started around 4 months old, where he just had excessive itching. He would scratch his body so much, just scratch and scratch. Like, he would scratch until he bleed. And this was only usually when he had his clothes off. So anytime we would change him or change his onesie, he would just go to town and just scratch, 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 scratch. And of course, when we mentioned it to his pediatrician or whatever else, the first thing they say is eczema. Oh, he might have eczema, dry skin, whatever. As we've kind of learned that, everything kind of starts in the gut. So, me being the mom that I am, I'm trying so hard to just figure out, and mind you, for content or just for clarification, I was primarily breastfeeding this whole time. And I'm like, okay, is it something that I'm eating that's making him do that? At one point, I cut off dairy. At one point, I just cut off different allergens, but he would still be scratching so excessively. And I know they say not to compare children, but it's super hard to when you have siblings that are close in age and you know everything, that all the signs that you should be seeing, all the milestones that you should be seeing, and maybe your other child or your second child may not be doing it at the same time, which is completely fine. But at what point when it's just like, okay, so with my first son, I did baby-led weaning. He was always interested in food very early on. So around 4 months, we would play around and he would suckle on this, suckle on that, whatever. My second, no interest in food. I did the same thing where, when they start to teeth, they kind of basically bite at everything. So I did start giving him some certain things that he can like munch on, but of course not giving him solids yet because he wasn't 6 months old. And that's kind of where the itching began. And so as he's getting older, around 6 months old, we go to his 6 month checkup. He was fine, weighing the way he's supposed to weigh, all of that good stuff. Within your first year of having a baby, if you're a new mom or, you know, about to have a baby, within the first year, they see the pediatrician a lot, just to make sure they're growing properly, making sure, if you have any concerns or whatever the case may be. The first year of life is lots of changes for a baby. 6 months, he was about 18 pounds. Good, solid baby. Like I said, primarily breastfeeding. He sleeps well. Everything looks perfect. His only issue was that he was scratching so much. And not only was he scratching so much, of course, the pediatrician want to provide steroids and all this other stuff. And I was very uncomfortable with that because I'm like, I need to get to the root cause of this eczema. Why does he have eczema to begin with, right? And so summer is here and I literally cannot put my baby in regular, like a short sleeve onesie. I cannot put him in that because he would literally just scratch and scratch and scratch. And as a mom, that really truly hurt my heart because he's hot. I know he's hot, and I'm putting him in all cotton and linen and breathable fabric, but seeing other kids with like little baby shorts on or whatever, being able to just expose their little skin in Georgia heat that gets up to like 99 and 100 degrees, and he has to be in a long sleeve pants and onesie just so he doesn't scratch himself to the point where he's bleeding. Now, at this point, I feel like I've tried everything. I've made homemade body butters with the best quality things, the tallow, whatever. And he has zero interest in food. And I'm like, okay, well, he's 6 months now. I need to start introducing solids. He just did not care to eat. He just wanted to breastfeed and call it a day. And I know all children are different. So I was like, okay, well, maybe he'll just later on. Anyways, the first year of life, primary food is breast milk or formula. So I wasn't stressing it too much. I would still try here and there. We went on a trip and his skin got so bad. And I think it's because the humidity there, it was, I've cried a couple of times during that trip, just seeing how much he was suffering. And he can't tell me what hurts, and he can't tell me this or that. Anyways, fast forward. I'm trying to keep this short. Fast forward is probably August or September. No, this was in September. A friend of mine's brought us some food. She brought us some lasagna, and I gave him some lasagna. Backtrack. We went to actually go see a dermatologist, and the dermatologist did not even spend 5 minutes with us in the room, did not even look at his skin, which really still pisses me off till this day, because as a dermatologist, that's all you do is look at skin. But because we were sent to you and all you did was look at his neck, and the first thing is that oh my gosh, what is the name of that thing he wanted? It's an injection that babies would have to take monthly. Oh my gosh, what is it called? When I think of the name, I will put it right here. But I was just like, you didn't even spend 5 minutes. You didn't even look at his skin. And the first thing you want to do is just inject his body. And you're saying that's what's going to help him. You didn't even ask our history. Or anyways, my friend brings us some lasagna, and I'm trying to get him to eat certain things. As soon as that lasagna hit his mouth, he immediately broke out. The whole side of his face just swelled up, and he wanted to scratch his face off. If he could, he would. And he was just scratching his face off, and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, okay, as long as his mouth doesn't, as long as his tongue doesn't swell up, I know that we're in a safe zone. I'm trying to give him some water. I'm trying to calm him down, and I finally breastfeed him again. I nurse him again, and then he calms down and we're good. And so I'm like, okay, I need to go see an allergist. I go to the allergist, and she's letting me know, hey, in order for his skin to even start to heal, he needs to stop scratching, because the more he scratch, the more damage he's causing to his skin, whatever. She puts us on Allegra twice a day, morning and night, and that should help with the scratching. At this point, I'm desperate. All holistic measures are out, whatever, and I give him the Allegra. It worked for a while, and for the first time ever, he was able to just wear a short sleeve shirt and shorts, and not scratch. That was just so weird. And so I was so happy, so glad. I'm like, okay, we finally found something. But that didn't cure his eczema. That just stopped the scratching. He would scratch very minimally. It wasn't as bad as before. And then as the weeks continued on, I realized he's starting to scratch again. But this is why I said to advocate for your child. Now, in the midst of all of this, he's probably about 10 months now. This is from 6 months. I told you guys that he was 18 pounds. And let me see. So we're gearing up to October. Between his 6-month visit and to October, it was about 7 months that passed in between. And he had about 3 or 2 visits in between that. He was the same weight and he was the same height. And I kept mentioning to the pediatrician, I said, hey, he's not growing. By that second visit in between, I said, hey, he hasn't grown since such and such. And the pediatrician kind of was like, oh, he's fine. He's meeting his milestones. He's still eating. He's sleeping. He's okay. I tried to, other moms that I would talk to or other people, and I would express it to family members, they would be like, well, some babies are small. You're just comparing him to your first son and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that's not what's going on. He's not gaining weight. Something is wrong. And they're like, don't speak like that. You shouldn't. And it's not like I was trying to speak it. This is what I am seeing. Regardless if I was comparing him to my first son or not, he should be gaining weight. So 7 months have passed, and now we're at his first year appointment. They took his weight again, and I saw the number on the scale, and I looked at the nurse, and she was like, do you have any concerns? I said, yes. Why is that the number? I was like, my concern is his weight. And so, anyways, this is getting very long-winded. We get to the doctor, the pediatrician, and he's finally concerned after I mentioned it twice before. And I said, I don't know why you're not concerned, but I'm concerned about his weight. So in the past 7 months, he had only gained 1 pound and 1 inch. And he's like, yes, that is concerning. So he's gonna go ahead and draw his blood and test him for celiac. And I was like, I've always heard of celiac, did not really know what it was. And so a week goes by, I don't hear from the doctor, and he finally calls around 7 p.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is after hours, something is wrong, whatever. I get a call and he's like, hey, he tested positive for celiac, and he wants me to go with his markers, the numbers that showed up. He wants me to go see a GI specialist right away. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And he's like, for now, go put him on a gluten-free diet. I can't give him a diagnosis, but go ahead and see that GI specialist, and that's that. We go to the GI specialist, wonderful lady, super wonderful lady. And she basically broke down the difference between gluten sensitivity and a person who has celiac disease. And we've done all the blood work, the test, and all that other stuff. All this to say, the reason he was not growing was because of celiac disease. And that's one of the signs of celiac disease, basically stunting his growth. Basically, when a person has celiac disease, anytime they get in gluten into their body, their small intestines is getting attacked. And all the nutrients from food or from anything really, they're not getting it. So his body was just like, he's just on survival mode, basically, and he was suffering inside. And all of that is the gut. So right now what we're working on is healing his gut. And right now he's on a strict gluten-free diet and a dairy-free diet. And he doesn't have an allergy against dairy, but because dairy is an inflammatory substance, we're just cutting that out until his gut is healed. And he'll be retested just to see, what's going on with his intestines. Is it healed? But yeah, this is the journey that we're on, and I'm going to share some things that I've learned about celiac disease, the foods that we've been eating, and yeah, advocate for your child. And I'm glad we caught it this soon.